here, guys. We'll have an open conversation this morning. Something we don't do often enough in this country, actually. We have this culture of fear that has spread across this country like an epidemic. Fear of losing your job. Fear of your kids getting a bad grade in school. Fear of becoming an outcast in your community. I'm done with that culture of fear. And here's how we're going to overcome it. It's going to be by all of us. Not just me. All of us. Starting to speak the truth in the open again. Tell you a word about my family and why we're in this, and then we're going to open this up after that. My parents came to this country 40 years ago with no money. In a single generation, I've gone on to found multiple multi-billion-dollar companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apurva, who is a successful throat surgeon at Ohio State, where she works at the cancer hospital. That's where she's having 10 cases today before she'll be here for an event tonight. And here over the weekend, she's bringing our 17-month-old with her, and I'm with our 3.5-year-old here already. Raising those two boys, following our faith in God. That is the American dream. And I'm worried that American dream isn't going to exist for our two sons and their generation unless we all step up and do something about it. I'll tell you why I'm in this race is I'm a businessman. I did not expect to be running for U.S. president. I didn't expect to be in politics. If you asked me a year and a half ago, would you be running for president? I'd say that sounds worse than a sharp poke in the eye. Okay? We are and have been blessed with a life that my parents never imagined when they came to this country, that I would have never imagined when my dad was facing layoffs at the GE plant in Evendale, Ohio, when we were growing up there. I was pulled into this out of our sense of duty. When I saw that red wave that never came last year, to take a step back and ask why. And I see a Republican Party that has grown lazy, actually. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I don't just mean lazy in the get out the vote operation sense. Probably that too. But I mean lazy in a deeper sense. Lazy in defining what we actually stand for. The other side is actually, say what you will, they're very good at offering their vision. It's the wrong vision, but they'll give you a vision. Race, gender, sexuality, climate. And we've satisfied ourselves by just pointing to that vision and saying, hey, here's what's wrong with that. Without offering a vision of our own. What do we actually stand for? Individual, family, nation, God. That beats race, gender, sexuality, and climate if we have the courage to actually stand for something. We can't anymore just be a party that is running from something. I am in this race to lead us to something. To our vision of what it means to be an American today. What does it mean to be a citizen of this nation? To me, it means we believe in the ideals of the American Revolution. Ideals like meritocracy and the pursuit of excellence. The basic idea that you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. That's why I've said that we'll end affirmative action and racial group quota systems in every area of American life. It's been a cancer on our national soul, and we are done with it. Thank you, young people, for joining us, too. I appreciate you guys being here today on Friday morning. We're talking about the future of this country. We're talking about what it means to be an American. You ask most people my age that question. I'm older than you guys, but I'm 38, and I am the youngest person ever to run for U.S. president as a Republican. You ask people my age, what does it mean to be an American? You get a blank stare in response. It's like a deer in the headlights. That's the vacuum we need to fill. I'm an America First conservative, but to put this country first, we have to rediscover what this country is. What does it mean to be a citizen of the United States of America? To me, it means we believe in ideals like the rule of law. I say this as the kid of legal immigrants to this country. That means your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. That is why we will use our own military to protect our own southern border and our northern border too. That's what it means to stand for the rule of law in the United States of America. It means that we the people create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. That the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government. That's the heart of my domestic policy agenda in this country. Right, you hear a lot of people in this country, we'll talk about, a lot of presidents will come through Iowa every 4 years or so, tell you about what they'll work with Congress to do. Forget that. That doesn't happen. Right, it's diluted out of existence by special interests. It's diluted out of existence by 500 people who can't really achieve something without actually having the sausage-making factory give us something very different than what went in. Forget that. I'm telling you what the U.S. president needs to do. Actually make sure at least the people we elect are the ones setting policy, not the three-letter agency bureaucrats and the shadow government, the deep state, that's actually pulling the strings today. You're going to drain the swamp, here's how you do it. 75% reduction in the number of federal bureaucrats. We will get that done by the end of my first term. 50% of that will get done in the first month. That's how you drain the swamp. Get serious about that. We'll talk about exactly how. If I can't work for you for more than 8 years as your next president, which I think is a good thing, by the way, neither should those federal bureaucrats who are reporting into me either. 8-year term limits for the bureaucracy instead of civil service protections. That's how you drain the swamp. Don't start with last year's budget as the baseline and try to massage it around the edges. Start with 0 as the baseline and ask what's actually necessary. Zero-based budgeting. That's how I've run my businesses. That's how many CEOs run their businesses. That's how we got to run the federal government. Many of those regulations, most of them, affecting businesses and individuals across this country, they weren't even passed into law by Congress. That's unconstitutional. Those regulations are null and void. We will rescind them on my first day in office. That's how we drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear energy again in this country, unlock this economy. This isn't controversial. This is common sense. We got to stand for what's right. Our founding fathers set this system into motion for a reason. These aren't black ideas or white ideas. These aren't even Democrat ideas or Republican ideas. They shouldn't be, at least. Now, to get there, we have a basic entitlement we're owed as Americans. That's elections that we can trust and believe in. That also is what it means to be an American. That also is what it means to live in a constitutional republic rather than an autocracy where a cabal of unelected judges in a random state can decide to disqualify a presidential candidate. You know what I've said? If they're doing that to Trump in Colorado, and I'm running this race to be your nominee, and I expect we will succeed. I think we're going to win the Iowa caucus, and I'll tell you why. But when they're doing that in Colorado, I made a pledge to say if they're going to remove Trump illegally from that ballot, I'd be removed myself too. I'll remove myself because we cannot have that level of election interference in a GOP primary, let alone what's coming next November, unless we step up and do something about it. Single day voting on election day as a national holiday with paper ballots, government-issued voter ID to match the voter file, and yes, English as the sole language that appears on a ballot. That is not controversial. That is common sense. These are basic ideals that we fought a revolution to secure in this country in 1776. And I believe deep in my heart that those ideals still exist. I'm running for president to revive them. It's on the back of our coins, every one of them. Etched into each one. It says, E pluribus unum. It means from many, one. That's what we've lost in this country. We've been taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really the same as Americans, bound by that common set of ideals. Here's how we're going to get it back. It's going to be by all of us. I said in the very beginning, every one of us, not just me, all of us starting to speak openly again. Say in public what you will say in private at the dinner table. Say it with a spine. Say it with conviction. Say it with respect. But part of respect is that you respect your neighbor enough to tell them what you actually think. That's how we get this country back. That's what this campaign is about. Speaking the truth, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. Speaking the truth, not just to the Democrats on the other side, but to our own side, right here in the Republican Party when it's necessary, too. That's what I'm doing on that debate stage. Hasn't made me very popular amongst the Republican establishment, I'll tell you that. But that's okay, I don't report to them. I report to you, the people of this country. If you want somebody who's actually going to get in there and shut down the deep state and speak truth to power, then vote for somebody who's going to speak the truth to you. There's a reason why I am the only candidate in this race, on or off that stage, that's able to tell you certain things that are true. That the carbon dioxide capture pipeline, the CO2 pipeline making its way across half the state, using eminent domain to seize your land and the land of innocent farmers, that it is unconstitutional, that it is based on a climate change agenda, that yes, I'll say it is a hoax, because it has nothing to do with the climate and everything to do with letting China catch up to the United States. The only person in this race who can definitively commit to you that I will, on day one in office, pardon any peaceful protester from that day of January 6th, because we need that for one standard of the rule of law in this country. The only person who can actually tell you the truth, that Ronna McDaniel needs to step aside after 5 failed years of leadership of this party that's become a party of losers. We're done with that. But ask yourself, why am I the only candidate who's able to say these things to you? I'm new to this, and I'll tell you, in politics, it's been eye-opening. You think it's going to be bad. It's far worse than I expected. Far worse. I was wrong. Every politician dances to the tune of their biggest donor. It's a fact. It's like a law of nature. The sun rises in the east, the sets in the west. Every politician's a puppet. In my case, that biggest donor is me. I refuse to be somebody else's circus monkey. I am not a pawn on a chessboard. I'd rather speak the truth and lose this election than to win by playing some carefully crafted political snakes and ladders. And my bet is that'll be the winning strategy. I think we're actually going to win the Iowa caucus. I'll tell you why, because most of the people supporting us are not polled. Many of them are first-timers, many of them are young, some are libertarian, others are America First patriots who haven't thought of themselves as traditional caucus-going Republicans. So I think we're going to succeed, and I think that's how we're going to win this general election in a landslide. Bring actual people. That's not black versus white or even red versus blue. Forget that. Do you agree on those 1776 ideals enshrined in that flag? If you do, then we're on the same team. And we will not stop or compromise on those principles till we get that job done. We will speak the truth, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. The things I'm saying in this race, they're controversial not because they're false, but because they are true, because we know them to be true. But others are afraid to say in the open that God is real, that there are two genders. I never thought I would talk about that one. That fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. That reverse racism is racism. That an open border is not a border. That parents determine the education of their children. That the nuclear family isn't a bad word. It's the greatest form of governance known to mankind. Capitalism is not something we should apologize for. It is still the best system we have to lift us up from poverty. Not crony capitalism, but the real thing. That there are 3 branches of government in the United States, not 4. That the U.S. Constitution is the strongest and greatest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is the truth. We fight for the truth. We stand up for the truth. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what reunited us after the Civil War. That is what won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is what still gives hope to the free world. And if we can revive that dream over group identity and victimhood and grievance, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus, not China, is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about. And that is what we are going to revive to save this great country. Thank you for coming out today, guys. God bless you and your family. And may God bless our United States of America. I want to open this up.